Peoples of the world, welcome back. Capital G bringing you another episode of the EDH Community Theater, highlighting real decks played by real people over on Spell Table and our Discord groups. And today we got a bit of a mean one. We've got Zada Hedron Grinder. Thank you to Kurtboswell for this one. Great guy. Love playing with him. It's been a while. We're long overdue, my friend. But before we get into the list on this one, be sure to check out the socials. There's my tags on Discord and TikTok. I've got my Board Game Arena username in there for those that want to play some European-style board games. And of course, the Discord servers. We have a server of many things as well as Dungeons and Cardboard. Both of these links not just on screen but in the description below. Zada, Hedron Grinder. Always a fun thing to see. 4 mana for this 3/3 Goblin Ally. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only Zada, Hedron Grinder, copy the spell for each other creature you control that it could legally target, and then create a copy that targets each of those creatures. So you've got 6 creatures, and you cast, say, a Brute Force to give Zada +3/+3. Well, we make 5 additional copies, each one targeting the other creatures. That's how that works. It is a fun deck to see go off. Pack 1, pick 1 is going to be Stormkiln Artist. The only red Magecraft creature, I went to double check, this is really the only red Magecraft creature that's, worth its weight in gold, or worth its weight in treasure, as we will. Of course, Stormkiln says every time we cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, we create a treasure token. So we got 6 creatures. Zada makes 5 copies. That's a lot of treasures that we're making with the Stormkiln. What other cards do you want to highlight in this fun little mono red build? Well, let's start with the creatures on this one. So what kind of creatures are we running in the deck? Of course, we've got Bergi, God of Storytelling. This is whenever you cast a spell, add a red mana. So amazing front side. Works perfect here because we're going to be casting spells that let us draw a bunch of cards, actually. We'll see that shortly. We do have the alternative of playing it as Harnfell, but here we're playing Bergi for Bergi. Bergi is where we want to be. Dualcaster Mage, of course, to copy an instant or sorcery spell. The Grinning Ignis, fun little combo card. Recently had to be powered down in Alchemy. 3 mana for this 2/2 elemental. Pay a red, bring this back to our hand. We get its mana value back to our mana pool, basically. Pretty sweet stuff. The Handweir Garrison. Whenever this attacks, we get to put 2 1/1 red human creature tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Pretty sweet. Note that we do not have Handweir Battlements in the deck. I'll talk about the land base later. Doesn't need the Handweir Battlements, to be fair, but I'm sad it's missing. Crinkle Mob Boss, of course, to create all of the goblins. Leyline Tyrant. We don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Pretty sweet. And then when this dies, you can pay any amount of red mana to deal that much damage to any target. Loyal Apprentice. At the beginning of combat on our turn, we get a Thopter. Sweet. Mog War Marshal. When this enters the battlefield or dies, we get a 1/1 red goblin creature token. The Owner Thopter of Paradise helps ramp us up. Rogue Rock. Oh yes. 0 mana, 0/1 kobold with all of the keywords. Yes, please. This is my pack 2, pick 2, Redaway Steamkin. Every time we cast a red spell, we put a 1/1 counter on it, and then we can remove 3 1/1 counters from it to add triple red to our mana pool. Yes, we cannot exceed 3 +1/+1 counters this way. I can only ever hold 3 unless there's other ways to put 1/1 counters on this card. This deck I don't believe features any, but that's okay because we're going to be casting 3 spells, removing those counters, casting 3 more spells. Such is the plan. Skirk Prospector, sacrifice a goblin to add a red mana. Always great to have an outlet like this. The Treasonous Ogre. This one's a bit of a money card. 4 mana for this 2/3 with Dethrone. We don't care about the Dethrone. We care about the paying 3 life to add a red to our mana pool. So as long as our life total is in a good spot, we'll never ever be mana short. Or we should not be mana short. If we are, something went wrong. And of course, the Young Pyromancer. Whenever we cast an instant or sorcery, we get to put a 1/1 red elemental creature token onto the battlefield. Perfect. The more creatures we have, the more powerful our instants and sorceries are. But I'm not going to talk about the instants and sorceries. I'm going to talk about some of the payoffs. Things like Aetherflux Reservoir, which we're going to very easily be able to power this up and Death Star someone. Arcane Signet for the ramp. Cage Sun. This lets our mountains tap for double and makes our creatures a little bit bigger. We have actually got ways of drawing a bunch of cards, so having things like Chromox is going to be fantastic for us. Extraplanar Lens, as I've discussed in the previous video, we have the old trick where we run Extraplanar Lens with snow-covered basics. That is true here as well. 23 snow-covered mountains in the deck. So this is what we're going to be exiling with Extraplanar Lens in order to ramp up our mana. Jeweled Lotus, it's just enough to cast our commander right away. Lotus Petal. Mana Crypt. Sensei's Dividing Top. We could run out of cards quickly unless we make sure we optimize our draws, so that's what this is here for. The Soul Ring, and a Thought Vessel. No maximum hand size, very relevant words. Let us go to our instants and sorceries, and we'll see why that's relevant. How things like Accelerate. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. Draw a card. So we've got 6 creatures in play. We cast Accelerate on Zada. Zada copies it for each of our creatures. We're drawing 6 cards for 2 mana. This is the kind of thing we'll be seeing a lot of in this deck. Battle Hymn. Add a red to our mana pool for each creature. Boiling Blood. Target creature attacks this turn if able. Draw a card. Chaos Warp. If someone throws a board wipe at us, we could actually Chaos Warp our own board, try and get our non-creature permanents out, or some lands out with this. So, it's a secret defense against board wipes as well as being excellent spot removal. Desperate Ritual with the triple with the pay 2, get 3. I don't think we have any other arcane spells in the deck, so don't worry about those plays. Expedite. Target creature gains haste, draw a card. Fist of Flame. 2 mana, draw a card, and until end of turn, target creature gains trample and +1/+0 for each card you've drawn this turn. This could be a finisher if we've gone off. Let's say we've already cast our Accelerate and drawn 6 cards. We follow that with a Fist of Flame, and we're giving our creatures anywhere from +6 to +12. Or in fact, +7 to +12. Yes. And Trample, yep, but we're just going to steamroll through our opponents with this. Great finisher in this deck. Heightened Reflexes. Put a target creature gets +1/+0 and put a first strike counter on it. So this gets past anyone that can sort of first strike our creatures and stop us from trampling over. This helps deal with that. Infuriate to give a creature +3/+2. Inordinate Rage. Target creature gets +3/+2 and scry 1. Pyroblast. We don't want to eat a Cyclonic Rift. We're not interested in eating a Cyclonic Rift. Pyroblast will counter said Cyclonic Rift. Radiate. This is always a fun one if this gets cast. Someone say cast a Doomblade, for example. You can radiate it and Doomblade everything. Red Elemental Blast, same as Pyroblast. Counter target Cyclonic Rift. Seething Sog, pay 3, get 5. Stun. Target creature cannot block this turn and draw a card. Again, we're going to cast this on our own creatures and draw a bunch of cards. Sudden Breakthrough. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and create a treasure. So this is essentially a ritual for us based on the number of creatures we control. So again, we have our 6 creatures. We cast this. Not only is our army getting huge, but we're getting a bunch of treasures that we can use to cast more spells. In order to filter through our deck fairly quickly, we got things like Thrill of Possibility, pitch a card, draw 2. Tibalt's Trickery, love the mono red counter magic. Counter target spell straight up, and then choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards, then exiles cards from the top of their library until they hit an on-land. So basically we counter spell, roll a die, and based on the result of that, they get to cast spell number 1, spell number 2, or spell number 3. We are playing a game of deal or no deal. Except we're taking away the deal option. Valakut Awakening is our last instant. For 3 mana, we can put any number of cards from our hand on the bottom of our library, then draw that many +1, so we can cycle out our own hand. If we must, we could play it as Valakut Stoneforge, as a land. Sorceries, similar to instants, lots of great synergies here, including the Ancestral Anger. Now, this doesn't look like a good CDH card or EDH card at all. Target creature gains trample and plus X plus O until end of turn, where X is 1 plus the number of cards named Ancestral Anger in our graveyard. Obviously, X will never be more than 1, but that's not the point. For 1 mana, we're giving a creature plus 1 plus O trample and drawing a card. And with Zada, we're doing this 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times for a single red mana. Bonus round. Actually, I just want to get back to Ancestral Anger for a second before we talk about bonus round. Oh yeah, the copies would resolve first, so no, we wouldn't see the original copy of Ancestral Anger in the graveyard. I had to ask myself that question. But no, the one that if we use the original target Zada, the copies would all resolve before the original. So I thought that would have been fun, but it doesn't quite work that way. Bonus round. For 3 mana until end of turn, whenever a player casts it into a sorcery, that player copies it and may choose new targets. So always fun to do that. Cathartic Reunion. Discard 2 cards, draw 3. Really cycle through our deck and get the things that we need. Dragon Fodder, 2 mana, get 2 creatures. Yes, please. Finale of Promise, double red. X. Cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from our graveyard with mana value X or less without paying the mana cost. If a card cast this way, put it into your graveyard, exile instead. If X is 10 or more, copy each of those spells twice. Okay. Oh yeah, so up to 1 instant and up to 1 sorcery. So we get to cast both, but we have a good balance of each, so it should be pretty easy to have 2 targets for this. Forbidden Friendship. 2 mana, we get a dinosaur and a human. Grape Shot, deal damage to any target. It has Storm. Perfect. So once we cast like 5, 6, 7, 8 spells, dome someone to the face on the cheap. Heat Simmer. Create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it has haste. Fun stuff on this one, being able to copy up our army. Yes, please. Inner Fire. Get red mana for each card in our hand, and as we've seen, we're going to have tons of cards in hand, so this will really ritual us. Jessica's Well, no surprise, we've seen every other red ritual, so why not this one? Carry Zev's Expertise. For 3 mana, gain control of target creature or vehicle, untap it, it gains haste, and then we may cast a spell with mana value 2 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost. How's this for Spice, by the way? You cast this on Zada, you've got your 6 creatures out. Yes, that's exactly how it works. It untaps all your creatures, it gives them haste, and for each of them you get to cast a spell with mana value 2 or less for free. Yes, it does work that way. That's awesome. Kick in the door. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, so it turns out there is a way to put more 1/1 counters on our Stormkill Artist. That creature gains haste until end of turn, cannot be blocked by walls. Venture into the dungeon. Now, when you can venture 6, 7, 8 times and you're going through a couple of dungeons, well, you're getting a lot of value off this. So this is a spicy piece of tech. I like it here. Trinkle's Command to get a couple of goblins. Mana Geyser. Our opponents tap out. We tap in. Mizzix's Mastery. Exile a card that's into the source from our graveyard. Or we can, for 4 mana, or we can overload it for 8 and cast all of the things in our graveyard. Renegade Tactics. Target creature cannot block this turn. Draw a card. Again, 6 creatures, 1 red, draw 6. Ryle, deal 1 damage to target creature you control. That creature gains trample until end of turn and draw a card. This we have to be a little careful of. We don't necessarily want to kill our own creatures, but after we've already buffed them some way, then casting Ryle for even more card draw value is totally worth it. Twin Flame. We should never need to strive it. Because for 2 mana, we can choose Zada, make a token that's a copy of it, but then, of course, Zada itself will copy it and make copies of the rest of our army. So, yes, pretty sweet here. Great sorcery suite. Some enchantments. We just got 3. Of course, we've got Blood Moon. We're playing mono red, so being able to disrupt everyone else's mana base, always a good thing. Mana Flare. Now we're enhancing everyone's mana base, ourselves included, of course. So Mana Flare, if you're not familiar with it, every land now taps for an additional mana of that color. An Underworld Breach. It's pretty easy to fill up our graveyard, and using Underworld Breach, it's pretty easy for us to recast our instants and sorceries. Alright, those are all of the non-land things. No planeswalkers in this deck, we don't need them. So let's look at our lands. Got a pretty good one to start off with Blinkmoth Nexus. Having a land that can become a creature on the cheap when we need it, always a good thing. Cavern of Souls. In a sense, it's a battlefield, choose a creature type. I assume we're choosing Goblin, in order to ensure that we can cast our Zada without it being countered. Den of the Bugbear. Here's an infinite mana dump, by the way. Sneaky trick that I've learned about thanks to the folks over at Command Zone. If you control two or more other lands instead of just the battlefield tapped, it does tap for a red, which is pretty sweet. It says 4 mana. Until end of turn, this becomes a 3/2 Goblin, with the ability, whenever this creature attacks, create a 1/1 Goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking, still a land. So if you dump 4 mana, turn this into a creature, attack, you get 1 Goblin. If you dump 8 mana into this, attack with it, you're only attacking with the 1 Den of the Bugbear, but it's got that triggered ability twice now, so it's going to create 2 tokens. So dump 400 mana into this thing, you attack with this, you're attacking with 100 other goblins now. Pretty techy stuff. The Gemstone Caverns. I think this got the reprinted Times Power Remastered, if I remember correctly. But the fact that we have this off chance of being able to play this for free as long as we're not the starting player, and this is in our opening hand, just start our land ahead of everybody. Fantastic. Care Keep, being able to spit out kobolds from a land is pretty sweet, so I like this ad here. Mishra's Factory, for 1 mana, this becomes a 2/2 assembly worker, so yes please. Reliquary Tower, of course, to help keep cards in our hand. We've already talked about the snow-covered mountains. We got 23 of those. Silken Zon. Early game, we play this as a land, no consequence to us. Late game, we can pay 4 mana, discard this, and create a couple of 1/1 spirits with haste. Temple of the False God. If the game goes a little bit longer, it's nice to get this boost. And Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. 23 mountains, which means it should be easy for us to get at least 5 other mountains to play and then start dealing damage with our landfall triggers. So Kurt, pretty sweet stuff. I am loving this deck. Other cards that I have thought of anyways, I was a little surprised to see. You did have Crimson Wisp in Kurt's sideboard. Like, Kurt's already sideboarded this. Target creature becomes red and gains haste. Draw a card. I mean, I guess maybe the effect isn't so great, but it's still a cheap card draw. So I'm glad you're at least still keeping this handy in case something else is not working out. But one card I was a little surprised not to see is Run Amok. Being able to give Zada +3/+3 trample, and then do the same for the rest of the board. I don't know. This seemed like a shoo-in to me. I was surprised not to see it. But, I mean, I'm obviously not the pilot of the deck. One newer card that I wanted to point out. Obviously, we have ways to keep cards in our hands. We've already got the Thought Vessel. We already have the Reliquary Tower. But if you need a third version of this, Decanter of Endless Water. Yes, it's a 3 mana rock, a little expensive for our taste these days, but no maximum hand size, and it does tap for the red mana. So, just a thought on that one. And the last sort of Gary card I'd like to suggest is Tempt with Vengeance. I would definitely run a Tempt with Vengeance in Zada, especially with the way we can generate mana and draw cards here. In the early game, you go X is 2 or X is 3, you get 3 tokens. Everybody sees that you're playing Zada. No one else is gonna take that tempting offer. But when you get going and all of a sudden you got 15, 20 mana, you drop this, X equals 15, follow it up with a card draw spell, and go nuts. So, those are just my random musings with Zada. Anyways, folks, I hope you all enjoyed that. That is always a fun deck to play against and see in action. I'm going to be missing in action for about a week, heading out of town for work. So I'll see you again in about a week and a half. There's my channel if you want to see the rest of my content, as well as a couple other videos to check out. And we'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.